Joining me from Washington is Laura Colarusso of the Daily Beast with a preview of that book. Laura, with a good morning to you. I'm curious what she says about the infamous "I am not a witch" ad.
Good morning. Well, she has quite a few things to say about that ad, most of them negative. She goes into great detail about how she didn't want to do it. She felt kind of forced into it. And it points in the book, she calls it idiotic and really very bad move, she thought.
Yeah, a very bad move, but you have to applaud her at least for taking responsibility for it, because she doesn't try to throw it off on anybody else. I mean, she says, look, this was my mistake, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Okay. What about reports that she dated a witch?
That comes out in the book as well, and that was something that she had mentioned on the Bill Maher show about a decade ago. But she describes in the book how she was set up on a blind date with a young man who was interested in the occult, and given that she didn't really have many religious beliefs of her own at that point, she sort of explored what that was all about.
Okay. Do you think most people might be surprised that she used to be a pro-choice liberal?
I think so. I was a little bit surprised, actually. She goes into great detail in the book about her pro-choice leanings when she was in college, and she talks about how she went to a library and started looking up medical information about abortion, and she went through medical journals, and that really changed her mind. And so it was that experience, really. It was almost like a Michelle Bachmann-esque epiphany. She went from being a liberal to having her mind changed on something kind of specific, and then everything else from there followed.
So was that the catalyst for her love of politics and wanting to get into it professionally? I mean, does she talk about that as being a turning point?
Yeah, she does. She talks a little bit about how she became the lone protester on campus of the abortion clinic. So, and then from there, she kind of got swept up into the Bush quail campaign, and that really was, I think, a turning point for her.
She apparently almost got a job on The View.
Yeah, that was another kind of interesting little tidbit from the book. She talks about meeting with Barbara Walters and what an open and warm person she was, and how they really got along. And I guess, according to the book at least, it got to the point where they had drafted a contract for her, but they wound up going with Lisa Lang.
Interesting. So she's written this book. She's aired everything from her perspective, and, you know, comes clean on things and puts out surprises and details of her life. Do you think this sets her up for a run for office again?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. My sense is she's been somewhat marginalized. She created a PAC in January, and since then has only raised about $120,000 for Christine PAC. So I don't know how much this book could really turn a record like that around. I mean, she's certainly getting the discussion going, and it's a great time to do it with the GOP nomination battle underway. But my sense is not.
Does she talk about what she's doing on a daily basis now?
Not tremendously. I mean, up until June and July, she was fighting off a couple of ethics complaints. So I think she's sort of been wrapped up in that. She's been working on the book, and now I think she's kind of setting her sights on becoming a voice, a pretty anti-establishment voice, if you're reading between the lines in this book.
Okay. Well, thank you for giving us the overview there of this new book from the Daily Beast. Laura Colarusso, thanks.
Thanks for having me.
We're approaching the top of the hour, and the latest on two big breaking stories this morning. GOP presidential hopeful